Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Dave. All right, and Harry?
No, I just.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Delgado for being here as well. Yeah, thank you for being here, for your words. And as I think about this project, and I think about there's an interest in both, everyone getting this right. Really, at the end of the day, it's the members of our system who this project is being, it's the people and the system that are going to benefit. So they're counting on us. They're counting on us.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Harry. Is there anything else from the team or from you, Graham? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jack, we're on to you. God bless you.
Thank you. Well, we have just completed the most cost-efficient election ever held at CalSTRS. This is super cost-efficient too. So there will be no primaries, no television debates, nothing like that. We've completed the election, and congratulations to Ms. Hendricks. Mr. Keeley is out celebrating. Denise, you're still with us? This is January 1st, 2020, the future. And you got a heck of a retirement party awaiting you. So we will celebrate you, Dana, for much to come, but obviously you've dedicated a large part of your working career to this organization. So we will be talking a lot about that in the months to come, but thank you. So that is behind us, and we have a solid view of what our governance looks like going forward. Yeah. I provided you an overview of the governor's proposal, and we always got to say that because there's a political process ahead of us and a lot of people at the Capitol with a lot of ideas on money. So I don't think we should solidify our actuarial projections or decisions around this until we're at the finish line on July 1st. But if you follow the media stories on pensions, already there's considerable recognition of the governor's proposal. So I'm obviously we're very pleased here to see the new administration carry forward from the past administration a real keen eye on long-term liabilities. And again, as I visit with my colleagues around the country, that's an unusual political environment to be in, where most of our colleagues in the public pension community are struggling with their governors or their legislatures to even consider the topic at all. So this was very welcome. I shared with you the two-pager that we put together. We'll be distributing this around just to digest the proposal into plain English for stakeholders and other parties so they can appreciate that. And we'll keep things moving on the communication side if we see other proposals getting traction or the governor should change course on this in any manner. We'll make sure we modify the communication documents around that. Were there any, I'm just going to finish up with one other piece, but were there any questions from board members on the governor's proposal? And I was going to ask David to come up if there are, since he was intimately involved with Department of Finance staff on Karen. David, do you want to step up? Do you mind? And obviously we did a lot of actuarial assistance to the administration to make sure they understood the issues well. And
Jack?
I just wanted a clarification. I didn't know if I read this right or not on TRB 99 at the top, supplemental payment. Because the paragraph before you talk about CalSTRS and then supplemental payment, you talk about CalPERS. So I didn't know if that was an intent, if that's correct. Okay, I just wanted to.
you mean that they're also getting monies? That's what you're quite,
right.
They are.
All right, okay.
They are. You know, they're being handled in their own way, but
Okay,
yes.
that's all.
Yeah.
We don't have any questions. Jack, you did a good job of explaining that evidently.
Good. Good. Well, we're obviously, we're very, very, very pleased
Yes.
about this. So So I was just going to finish up with a kind of a fun piece. I'll just take maybe 3 or 4 minutes with it. I'm not going to show you the whole slideshow here, but we obviously don't have enough money in the budget to fly you all to Switzerland to go to the World Economic Forum this month. But one of the prize events, if many speeches that go on there, is the annual release of what they call the Trust Barometer. And it's and I have attended this session. It's a well-attended session by CEOs of all the major corporations that attend the World Economic Forum. Edelman is, of course, a global public relations company, and they've been our partner here at CalSTRS for, at least 8 or 9 years here, and they help us every week. We're in meetings with them, helping us think about media strategies. So they do a global survey on trust, and it's, sometimes we don't spend enough time understanding how important that word is in business and for investors and how we think about successful businesses. But they do this global survey, and truly global, across all countries of the world, asking business people and citizens about their trust in the various institutions we work in. I'm not going to focus on it today, but historically, since the recession, the financial services sector has been one of the lowest rated of all industry sectors for trust. And that, I think we can all imagine, relates to a lot of the Wall Street drama that goes on and on. Then they slice and dice this data in many ways. There's a California report, there's a US report. The Edelman executives come to CalSTRS, and we have a session with our entire leadership group to go through the data, understand how people are thinking about business and trust, and also to understand how to communicate better ourselves. There's some takeaways from this on who is the best spokesperson for the organization. Some of our long-held perceptions of who the right person is stem from authority, not necessarily who actually is a trusted person in the organization. So the data is interesting. But this year, they started producing an institutional investor report. And I was so fascinated by this. And again, it was surveying institutional investors in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, and Japan. And remember, these are institutional investors. I didn't say pension funds. So this is a variety of players of different sizes. So don't think of this as our normal peer group. This could be mutual funds of all kinds. So they wouldn't have necessarily the same issues they're debating. But what I liked about this report was how it's changing their views of what is a good investable market, and how much your conversations that you're having right now in the investment committee overlap so clearly with the issues that are identified from this survey. And again, just view this as a data point, not a definitive profile of the whole market. But rather than go through all the slides, look at them at your leisure, but go to just the last page of the CEO report. That was in the page 106 of your board book. And I'll just focus on the 10 takeaways from this survey, so that you kind of see just, again, I don't know if I can get to this slide quickly here too. Let me see if I can. There we go. And these are the 10 takeaways that they shared from this survey. One is that the investor ESG focus is now much more pervasive than it has been in prior years. And you can see on the slide I just did put up on the screen, I wanted to just pull that one out. So it dissects that one particular issue by region and on a global basis. Not surprising, there's differences among the various regions. But 89% of the respondents said their firm has changed its voting and engagement policy to be attentive to ESG risks. Now, I'm not talking about the investments per se, but this is about their voting proxy policy and engagement. I want to make sure it's a narrower focus. 63% report this change has taken place in the last year. Secondly, environmental social practices now matter as much as governance. Now, that's kind of interesting, since you just finished a conversation yesterday about the branding of our organizational unit in this area. Again, this is a script any of us could have written right here. Third takeaway, companies should expect all investors to become activists. Now, this seemed a bit overstated, I thought, but 87% of institutional investors say their firms are more interested in taking an activist approach to investing. 92% of investors will support a reputable activist investor if they believe change is necessary. Now, for those of you that have been to a CII meeting before, and now we've had activist investors as our partners in our corporate governance unit, some of our decisions were not popular decisions among our colleagues. And we got considerable feedback from some of our partners saying, how come you're embracing this community of troublemakers? And I think we all tried to put together our logic and reasoning why they brought value to the fund. But I think this is interesting, seeing this trend in this Edelman data, that others now are giving more serious consideration to this. Number 4, another topic you talked about, and again, some of these aren't just about our investment branch. Some of this is about how you've been discussing our enterprise as a whole in the sustainability concept that we use here. Number 4, corporate culture is now an investment criteria. Again, we talked about that, very specific to our GRI report. Investors recognize the impact that healthy culture and engaged employees have on corporate performance. Number 5, businesses are expected to lead. 98% of investors think public companies are urgently obligated to address one or more societal issues. This kind of dovetails with Larry Fink's message around purpose that he issued last year, if you think about that. Number 6, the political climate is changing investment strategies. I always remember Ann saying, and Sheehan, when she was here, that Washington, D.C. was the new financial center of the United States. And I would say, again, overstatement, but it's clearly was, I think, a good read on how things are not all about New York and London anymore in the financial markets. Number 7, management does not control the company's narrative. Julie will be very happy to see this slide, because the survey showed the most trusted voice in business is Julie. And, this has been and look who number 2 is from this survey. Now, there's not a lot of variance in this data. I think you ought to just be careful with this. It is ranked, but it's a very tight scoring. So I'm kind of looking at that. But, a couple things that, if Edelman were here going through their own slides with you, one thing they would tell you is that old adage about, craft your message, have the CEO deliver it, does not work anymore. In fact, your own employees are often the strongest message, not the CEO of the organization. The body of your employees through social media often deliver a more powerful message that's trusted than the traditional hierarchical approach to this. But I thought that was an interesting takeaway. The reputation of a board of directors now speaks to you. The reputation of the board of directors directly impacts investor trust. Let me just flip up to that slide real quick. My trust in a company, top attributes driving investment decisions. And just if we go to 2018, my trust in the company, provide forward-looking financial guidance, industry reputation, ESG, risk management, an engaged and effective board of directors. Number 9, digital communications essential to investor decision process. 98% of investors use social platforms to inform investment decisions on a weekly basis. Number 10, which is great for us to our own mission, having a long-term outlook is critical to trust. 96% of investors agree providing long-term guidance impacts trust. So again, just another angle to things we talk about. I thought it was just fascinating how all the issues that we talk about on our agendas intersect in some ways with what was viewed in this World Economic Forum product that comes out each year. So, good stuff.
So there's a couple of things, Jack, when I read this page, I found a lot of it just really fascinating, but there were a couple of things that really stood out for me. And one was 6, about the political climate, and that how 85% of the investors don't believe companies fully acknowledge the risk to their company about political climate, which means that's a risk to us. And I'm thinking, that's in the climate that we find in the political climate we find ourselves in. I think that's pretty scary. And then the whole digital utilization by investors to determine their process. I mean, that informs our process, because that is so quick.
Yeah.
and sometimes totally erroneous and biased, and that I think is pretty scary too, so, yeah.
But anyway, a lot here, and in the broader study, it's very interesting as well. If you ever have an interesting educational session from Edelman, we could bring in one of their executives and actually go through either the institutional investor study that they subset or the entire trust barometer that they issue globally.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
We love listening to stuff like that. Alrighty, anybody else on Jack's presentation? Alrighty, Lynn, I'm coming to you, next. Oh, sorry, Loretta, I thought you were just standing up by your chair, I apologize. Come on up.
All right, I want to thank Jack. Loretta Toggenberger, United Teacher, Los Angeles, retired. I want to thank Jack. He was our speaker at our General Assembly, and our General Assembly is a mix of our retirees, the 50-year-olds, the 60-year-olds, the 70-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, and 90-year-olds. And let me tell you, I was out in the lobby, 2 young retirees, under 70. Oh, I come here every January to hear the CalSTRS speaker. Oh, he was good. I learned so much. They were really going back and forth. Jack, it was wonderful to have you, and thank you again. It's nice to have retirees that really come to hear the speaker, and they came to hear him. Thank you again, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you, Loretta.
Happy 92nd.
Well, I tell you, that Loretta's group should be the training ground for all of us for giving speeches, because they use the old technique of you can't directly ask the speaker. You have to fill out a card and bring it up to the person. And these cards kept coming in and coming in and coming in, and
I only had a couple, Jack, when I went to speak.
they are a heck of a group. Let me tell you.
You're a good resource. Harry?
Loretta, it's good to see you.
We missed you last time.
You've been missed.
I was on a cruise.
Well, that's, I figured you
for
were,
you.
probably with I'm not gonna say anything. Loretta, it's great that you're here. You really are. You're great to be here. You were missed. You're an inspiration, Loretta. Thanks. I was on a cruise. Of course you were.
She's retired. Hey, that's not too far off. All right, we are on the committee reports, which is A on our consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes. We talked about the amendments and corrections that were going to be made to that. New board member education and the contracts requiring board approval. Does anyone want to pull any of those before I have Lynn read her action item into the record? All righty, we'll take all of those as a whole. So Lynn, why don't you go ahead and give us your action item? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at you. Sorry.
Thanks, Dana. By direction of the Board Governance Committee, I move to adopt the revisions to the Teachers Retirement Board Policy Manual, Section 600H, to change the policy title, provide a policy purpose, add definitions, remove inconsistent gift language, and revise the disclosure timeline.
All righty. So this is A through D. The vote will be on A through D. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. Any abstentions? We've approved all of item 10. Moving on, items referred by the committee for board decision. We did not have any. New business or review of information requests. Other than what we've directed staff, and I think staff was pretty good on what they heard from us and what we would want them to do. Jennifer, did you capture anything else on top of those? Already. Draft agenda for the next meeting, Jack?
Yeah, I just a couple changes based on our discussions today. If you're looking at that, one is item number 2 is, as it says, board education, so it's not an action item. That's just a background conversation on bond financing, so take that off as an action item. Second of all, we don't have number 5, we can delete, because there won't be an event at that meeting on the regulation, so we wouldn't have number 5.
Okay.
And then my understanding is you'd like to add an item into closed session conversation to complete your
Yes,
discussion
please.
of the board self-evaluation.
Yep,
So
we still have a couple items we need to go through.
we need to add that, and that probably could be budgeted around an hour, I would think possibly. But you've got a pretty short agenda this month, as you can see. Chris, as indicated, is a very full investment agenda, so this will give you enough room here to have the other committees, hopefully. Cassandra's gonna help on this one and organize the timing. We don't know yet if it's a 2-day or a 3-day, right? Not yet. Okay, all right, well, we'll get back to you very soon for your schedule, so you know what that is. If it's a 2-day, we'll do investments on Wednesday,
Okay.
forever.
I want to make sure I heard that.
Alrighty. Are there any speakers from the public that would like to take the opportunity to speak to the board? Seeing none, we will recess the board into closed session, and this is how I think that we will do that. I think we'll go ahead and go back to the caucus room. We'll hold our closed session there. I'm estimating maybe 20 minutes. I might be being optimistic, but say about 20 minutes. So I think we can start appeals at about 10 to 4.
Yeah, but I gotta go back there.
10 to 4.
You may wanna-
10 to 4?
Discuss it.
Yeah, 10 to 4.
Oh, how about 4?
That's what we're discussing.
4?
I think
Okay.
that-
We still have to take a
We're just gonna do a briefing, Arena's gonna do a briefing on it.
Well, I thought we could do that while we're doing closed session. Okay, we'll do 4 o'clock for appeals. Alrighty.